My girlfriend and I had been together for some time. She's 26. I'm 24, and we were seriously talking about moving in together. We already spent so much time at each other's places that it felt like the logical next step, even though I had my reservations. Living together full-time is a different beast, but I figured if we could handle that, marriage could be a real possibility down the line. At first, things were fun. We got ourselves a large stash of weed, spent countless hours watching Netflix, and had a very active sex life. We'd dabbled in roleplay before, including some vampire-themed scenarios, so when it came up again after moving in, it didn't seem like a big deal. But over time, the vampire stuff wasn't just something fun and occasional anymore. It started taking over. At first, it was playful, some light bondage, biting, and staying in character during sex. She even gave herself a vampire name something she pronounced Samuane. I later learned I'd been spelling it completely wrong, which made researching it a nightmare. Most of the time, I was just the regular human in these scenarios, which I was fine with. I didn't feel the need to study vampire lore to keep up. It was just sex after all, or so I thought. But things started getting more intense. The bondage became more elaborate. She started drawing blood more often when she bit me. I asked her to ease up, told her I didn't want to be bleeding every time we had sex. It wasn't even that she was hitting dangerous areas, mostly my shoulders, but it still made me uncomfortable. She wasn't happy about that, said I was being boring. That stung. Meanwhile, I noticed changes outside the bedroom. She began practicing intricate knots. Throughout the day, she kept her computer screen tilted away from me. I had a gut feeling she was diving deeper into vampire culture or whatever community she was pulling this from. Then I found her cross necklace, the one she used to wear, tucked away at the back of the wardrobe with some other religious things, as if she was hiding them. Her family is Christian, but I don't think she ever practiced seriously. Still, it felt symbolic, like she was cutting ties with her previous identity. I tried to bring it up. I really did. But every time, she'd brush it off, tell me I was overthinking, hand me another joint or pour me a drink. It was hard to argue when I was high, and honestly, I think that's what she was counting on. I started wondering whether this behavior was a way for her to cope with the stress of us living together or something more serious. Eventually, I posted about it online. The responses were eye-opening. A lot of people picked up on something I hadn't wanted to admit. Her behavior had crossed a line into emotional manipulation. Not respecting boundaries is a red flag, especially when it comes to physical intimacy. One comment stuck with me. In BDSM, consent isn't optional. If one person says no to something, the other should stop. Simple as that. I also read that human bites can be dangerous, like medically full of bacteria. That alone made me rethink how careless we'd been. Some people in those communities use sanitized tools and take serious precautions. We weren't doing any of that. After reading through everything, I realized I'd been ignoring my own discomfort just to avoid upsetting her. She works in a tough field, always in control, always knowing what she wants. And I was used to going along with it, not just in the bedroom, but with everything. For a week after I read the comments, I kept quiet. I didn't want to rock the boat. Every time we had a disagreement in the past, I was the one to back down, to compromise, even when I was uncomfortable. We'd done other role plays before that were far more complicated than the vampire stuff. At least with this, I didn't have to do much. She handled all the props, makeup, and logistics. One time, she spent hours getting into costume while all I had to do was bring a red balloon. I admired that dedication, even if the theme was unsettling. Things settled down a bit, probably because she got busy with work again. She was pulling long hours, and I was cutting back on smoking. I only have a couple of beers now, and I feel clearer and more grounded than I have in a long time. Eventually, I decided to talk to her again. We were having dinner, and I brought up the vampire thing, but I think she misunderstood me, thought I was encouraging it to go further. When I tried to clarify, I started panicking, genuinely couldn't breathe for a moment. I think it was a panic attack. She got scared, thought something serious was happening, and started crying. After I calmed down, I tried again to explain that I wasn't comfortable with how far things had gone. It didn't go well. She accused me of trying to shame her, even though I was really just asking her not to bite me until I bled. I even tried joking about how many plasters I was going through, thinking it might lighten the mood. It didn't, and I'm the one being bled, so I figured I earned that joke at least. Things were tense for days afterward. We barely spoke, but finally, we had a real conversation, a rational one. We both agreed that things weren't working. It wasn't angry. It wasn't some dramatic horror story, just a relationship that ran its course and one that needed to end for both of our sakes. Some of the comments from my original post had me fearing the worst. And I get it, reading just a snippet of someone's life online can make things look more extreme than they are. She's not a monster. She's not evil. She's just someone who got deep into a fantasy that I didn't share. She crossed some boundaries, yeah, but I also let things slide for too long without speaking up. We've agreed to go our separate ways. And as strange and messy as the situation was, I think it's for the best. I'm healthier, more clear-headed, and I've learned to listen to that voice in my gut when something feels wrong.